Welcome back to the Berg Podcast. With me today is Ford.
Hey, how's it going?
And Dan.
Hey, everybody.
And today we're talking about PTO, getting away, taking some vacation time, right? And in the hustle and bustle of what the United States considers a normal work-life balance, which I'm not sure actually is a thing anymore. How important is it to actually use your PTO to get away from work?
I think it's really important. I think having a young family, me personally, there's real value in getting away. I know for me, one of the things I struggle with is I'll tend to take like a Friday or a Monday with the benefit of having the shore house. And Brian, you used to make jokes that if it's Friday in the summer, Dan's not going to be around. But I like to do it that way. Whereas Erin is pretty against that idea for me. I mean, she likes me to be there 3 days, but she always says, I really need 4 or 5 days in a row before I'll actually force myself to like step away and unplug. So to get away far enough that I stop paying attention to it, because if you take off a few days, it takes you a day or two to get away from work, even at the operator foreman level. And then as you go up, it takes you, a couple more days because you can still be involved. You can still be somebody asking you a question about what are they supposed to do while you're gone. And same thing, you're going back in. I think it's a sign of if you've picked a good spot for you personally to work and to have a career, in how unnerved you get right before you go back to work. It's become a thing in modern society. They talk about that, like people panic on Sunday because they got to go back to work on Monday.
Yeah. Well, there's a term for that.
There's a term for it. I don't know what it is, but I don't feel that, but I do think it takes me a good 4 days. If I don't have 4 days, then I head off. I can really enjoy myself. I spend time with my family. It's great. They enjoy it, but I don't feel as if I've actually taken time off, because mentally it took me a couple days to get unplugged, and then I'm trying to get myself back up to speed, the night before, or afternoon before, start to think about, okay, what's tomorrow going to look like? What do I have to do? Am I all set up? What does my schedule look like? So when you start to look at it that way, 4 days, you might actually only have 36 hours in the middle of that where you're actually removed from work. So for me personally, I think it's important, and I try and space them out a little bit and make them doing something that I like to do.
Yes. Well, and I think you're right, especially if you try and dovetail the weekend, like you're talking about, like you grab a Friday, you grab a Monday. If you compartmentalize it like that, you've only taken 1 day off, right? Assuming that you weren't obligated for some reason to work on a Saturday or Sunday anyways. So you took 1 day off on a Friday and to separate yourself from work, which really you probably couldn't do because you still had lingering emails when you left on Thursday. You still had a couple of phone calls you were going to have to make anyways. You had your weekend, and then you took 1 day off, Monday, because you didn't remove yourself from obligations that you were going to have to get to Tuesday. So already Monday night, you're setting yourself up for the work day. You're preparing for what comes next. And you're right. You don't actually step away, disengage, reboot, and prepare yourself to do what you need to do.
Personally, Brian, the most effective time I do it, and I haven't done it in a while, was when we would go to Maine. Mm-hmm. And when we would go to Maine and I would actually not have power anymore at the camp, that I would really start to feel like day 4, because if you're going to go that far north, or that far away, you got to give yourself 7-8 days. Yeah. Counting the weekends.
Right. Travel time
and getting there. And with that, I would really feel it that I'd be really stressed for 2 or 3 days because I can't get email. I don't have a phone. You can't get a hold of me. And so I'd be unnerved. But once you really settle into that, it really does allow you to reboot. And reboot's a good word for that. It's like you unplugged, and then you can come back and be in a better place than you were mentally, have more clarity and everything. So I think it's important. Ford, what do you think is going from the first 15 years of Berg, where Ford wouldn't, whether he was here or not, he didn't really have a day off.
Right.
Someone I was talking to the other day, they're like, I told them I didn't have my CDL, and they're like, how do you do that? And I said, well, when I was coming up, CDLs, you can only work so many hours. And so I didn't get my CDL because I was working more hours than that. And I think it's a mindset. Sometimes we even talk about it now. Like if you're somewhere else, you have to, because of that phone in your hand that does so many things, and you're still attached, even if you're not attached.
Right.
Like, and then you happen to leave your phone for 3 hours and people are like, I tried to call you and you didn't call me back. And like, are you okay? And it's like, I literally went to Lowe's and left my phone in my house. Like, it wasn't even on purpose. But it's interesting too, because everything is made to feel like it has to be right now. It's also made to feel like if this isn't done yesterday, you know, the whole world's going to stop.
Yeah,
and
right.
That's not real. You know, I mean, there's a lot of things. We have a lot of deadlines in our business. We have a lot of things that are, you know, I think we talked about on a different podcast, maximizing the time that you are there is more beneficial than being there.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can get stuff done more efficiently, you can take the time off. You know, now with little kids and, you know, after spending 15 or so years like that, I have started to a little bit, but then you get twitchy the other way because you're like, all right, like, you know, you're so used to your routine. I think part of it too is breaking the routine of, you know, first couple of days you go on vacation, you're still waking up at the same time because your body clock is set up to do that. And then maybe the third or fourth day, you might, you know, change that a little bit one way or the other, just because you're waking up because your body is saying you've had enough sleep, not that it's the time that the alarm goes off.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. As the kids have gotten older, you know, a little bit older, at the end of last week, going into, you know, being on vacation, the way I worked it around 4th of July, I slept till 8:00. I don't think I've slept. I mean, I did go to bed late, but I don't think I've slept at 8:00 in years because the kids would wake up.
Right.
But now with them being a little bit older, they were tired out. And so they slept as well. And it was the weirdest feeling, to Ford's point. Like, I slept until I wasn't tired, which was still not late, but it was late for me. Whereas the first 3 days of that vacation, I was up at 5 and, like, you know, went and did stuff because I was already up. The other funny thing that Ford brought up is we're so available, right? Like, I think that as a successful person, you make yourself available, whether that's a laborer, an operator, a foreman, a superintendent, you know what I mean? Or director of operations, whatever it is, you make yourself available and you're responsive.
Mm-hmm.
And people respect that responsiveness and they appreciate it. And then they expect that responsiveness. And funny thing happened a couple days ago while I was still on vacation. We were going to go out to dinner with friends. And we had it set up that my mom was going to watch the girls and Liz's mom, she was going to watch her 3 kids. And it didn't go great for Liz right before she left. Her oldest Banks fell asleep and then sitting in a chair because he was all tired out, and then didn't eat, and then woke up right before we left, and it was a late dinner. And Jane, the day before, had come stomping down. Jane was all kinds of bent out of shape because no one answered their phone. So they're all on vacation and no one answers their phone. Meantime, Victoria, Liz's sister, calls me and says, "Hey, my mom's on the way down," and she is mad. No one answered their phone. I answered my phone right away. The other 3 of them looked at me and said, "You're going to make us all look bad. Like, why are you answering your phone?" But even away, like, right, I still have my phone near me just in case. And I mean, I don't know why we'd have an emergency at like 8:30 on a Saturday night.
Sure.
But it could happen. It has happened.
Right.
So I answered the phone, you know, and it was one of those things. So I like quickly was like, "Hey, this is what just happened. This is what's going on. You got to, I don't know if you should know or not, but I'm telling you." And then we can see Jane walking, you know, the 4 houses down to our house. But it's because you make yourself so available to be so responsive because it's what's required.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think it's tough too, because like you, even I was thinking about it. Like, I called Ford one day last week while you were out on vacation, trying to figure something out. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to interrupt Ford. He's on vacation. I also know that you dislike text messages or questions via text message. So I was like, well, I'm not going to text him because I think that's more disruptive. In a weird way, I'm actually just going to call. If he doesn't pick up, I know he'll call me back when it makes sense, or if it makes sense. Because it's not urgent. I'm not like gonna put him on blast or whatever. But it is tough because even like in those scenarios where you're like, oh, geez, I know someone's away and I don't want to interrupt them, but I feel like they're okay with me interrupting them. You just go ahead and do it, right?
Yeah. I feel like Brad had a day off not long ago, a Friday or something. And I called him because I wanted to get a message to him. Maybe it was Thursday. I don't know.
It was a Friday because I texted him, not real. Like, that's the thing is you don't even know when people are on vacation because
that's true.
You don't.
Because you don't check. You just expect everybody to be at work.
Yeah.
You expect the norm. And so I called him and I said, I'm sorry to bother you while you're on vacation. And I was like, I take that back. I'm not sorry. I called you on purpose.
I wouldn't have called if
I truly was sorry, I wouldn't have called you, but I felt like you should know this. And I didn't want you to find out through another route. So I'm just calling you. I don't need you to do anything. I just want you to know what's going on. So I'm just telling you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah, I think that part of it is, it's not even, the last couple of years has been mentally draining for a lot of people, right? I mean, people had vacations canceled for a while and then cost of them and different things. And it might be you working out back in your wood shop. It might be, it might not be going anywhere. It might be going somewhere huge.
Yeah.
It might be going on a cruise. But the thing we find is that because of everything being so constant, people are constantly on the run, that they can lose focus, and that becomes a safety issue,
right?
Above all else, because if you're just not so a little time away, a little time to recenter yourself for some kind of kumbaya move, but just getting your brain to think about something else because you're just so constantly in the move of it.
Yeah.
We just find it so beneficial for everybody, because we've seen people that don't do it, and, it's affected their relationships. It's affected their ability to work. It's affected their job status, a lot of things. And so, we really believe, PTO is a pretty standard thing at most companies. But we believe in it, and we believe in people actually using it versus just, it's part of the offer letter.
Yeah. That's the other thing that's tough is end of the year, right? You see a guy, and we've got a couple guys who are notorious for it. Right. And, they're coming into December with tons of hours left in PTO, or weeks, maybe, depending on how long they've been here or how much they've accrued or whatever. And it's I know you didn't have somewhere that you wanted to go or needed to go, but just take a few days off, go do something you like doing instead of being here. I hope you like being here. I'm glad you want to be at work. I'm glad you're so devoted to it, but go do something else for a few days.
Well, and when you think about that, those days that you're just burning at the end, when people just are burning days at the end, and for whatever reason they do it. A lot of our guys are younger to middle-aged with kids, just take the time, even if it's a day, like Ward's saying, you have nowhere to go, but you know what I mean? Maybe just take the day off, get some things done you want to get done, and go have lunch with your kid after school. You know what I mean? As a parent, I always feel like I'm not going to get those days back. I'm not going to get that time back. If I can work my day, and my day is a little bit more flexible, than guys in the field. But if I can work my day that I accomplish everything I needed to accomplish, and can get out of the office for an hour in the afternoon to go just, meet my girls for lunch somewhere in Morgantown, and they meet me halfway. You know what I mean? That's time I'm not going to get back. And there's going to be plenty of time when my girls are gone, living their own lives. And I don't have that to do. So I'm saying, as a parent with kids that are, 7 to 11 now, get out there and take advantage of that time, because it's going to be sooner. I mean, you can speak to that. You know what I mean? At this point, you only got a couple of years left, and your kids are going to be all out and, real adult people doing real things. And, that's so same thing with you. You know what I mean? I would say, Brian, if you have a chance to go do something with the boys when you did, or go do something with that, you know what I mean? Then take some time to do it, because you're not going to have it back later.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you don't expect it. Right. So talking about my kids, so Gavin's he's in cadet camp for ROTC. So 4-ish weeks in Kentucky, Fort Knox. And so we knew he was going, right? And he's going to miss we don't take a ton of vacations, but they all happen to be over summer because kids are out of school. My wife works for the school, so she's got more flexibility this time of the year. And he's going to miss them both. So we knew it was coming, but we didn't really think about it. We're like, he's doing his thing. He's involved in other stuff. But it is weird. We're about to go on vacation, and he's not going to be there for part of it, any of it. And you don't really see it coming, even though you know it's coming. So yeah, try not to take that time for granted.
Well, and this is going to kind of spin it back to mentorship and building up your team, because I think part of it is too that we all want to feel very important, right? Mm-hmm. But when we were four people at the company, if somebody took off vacation, that was a 25% reduction in workforce
Right.
for that time frame, right? I mean, that's a huge blow. Or hunting season came and all of a sudden 2 people were gone. All of a sudden you only had 50% of the team to work with. But now as we've grown into a larger team, trusting your teammates that they can get it done while you're gone. And if you know that you've taught them and or been able to explain it to them, they can handle it. You know, that's the benefit now that I can take a little time off because we do have a team and you guys be able to handle things. But when you guys weren't here before that, and when you guys were still working on getting to the point you are now, that wasn't available. So now part of having, multiple foremen and stuff like that can help each other out. So if one goes out, the other person doesn't feel they can trust that the work is still getting done and being done in a way that they feel is the way they wanted it done. And it allows them more freedom to enjoy that time off. And so that's kind of, bringing it back to, making sure that you really do spend the time with your team members and mentor the young people, because it's amazing what they can do once they have the knowledge of what they need to do.
Yeah. Once you've empowered them to do it, right? I mean, that's the other part is you have to actually give up the responsibility. And I struggle with that personally here. There are times where I don't have to be here, but I just feel obligated to be present, right? For my team's sake, for other people's sake. And if I would just make sure that they are empowered and prepared to do some of those things or make those decisions without me, it'd be easier at times to step away.
I mean, and it's one thing I want to call out on this as we talk about, like we made a joke, like public service announcement, take your vacation time. Right. Also, public service announcement, Ford doesn't like to be asked questions on text. So there's that. Yeah, there's that. But, I thought about it. And coming into it, we all know 4th of July, for some of us, Ford, Scott, Gardner, and I, we like to be off the 4th of July around there. We like to be with our families. We like at a certain time of year. It's just, it's a thing. It's a tendency. I was always cognizant of it with Ford. And then when Scott came on, I was very cognizant of it with Scott. Like Scott, that's his week. He goes down the shore. I can go down the shore. I'm very fortunate. I can go down any week I want. So I would not take it off, but it is my anniversary. So this year I was looking at the schedule, on the master calendar, and I'm like, okay, Scott's off. I know that. And then I talked to Ford. I know Ford's off. And then I'm like, okay, well, I really want to take that the way the week falls. I can take off a longer duration without being out of work that many days, which already shows you that I have a problem because I'm figuring out how many days I can get off without actually missing work.
Sure.
But I really have to commend the team as a whole. I'm not going to speak for Ford, but I didn't get interrupted. Anytime I talked to someone from Berg in this week that I was out, it was because I chose to insert myself into a situation because I saw an email that I wanted to react to, or I wanted to do something that did not require my intervention. It was requested by the client, but it wasn't necessary. And all the phone call was to check. And then they would say, we got it. It's under control. We'll deal with it. We understand the urgency. Okay. And so I found myself being my own worst enemy in that. But I think if you go back 5 years and you say you're going to have Scott, Ford, and Dan all away for a week and everything's going to go fine, we're I don't know if that's going to happen, and that really speaks to the team that we've built and to your point of that we've empowered them. Dylan Clements did a really nice job with Scott out managing things. I know a couple things came up. Right. We had some nasty storms in the middle of some basin work. And I'm sure Scott, like me, was involved, but only to the level that Scott felt he needed to be involved, so he inserted himself back in.
Yeah, good point.
And so that's, and same thing, I talked to Ford, you said you talked to him once. I think I talked to Ford a few times, but only one of them was probably for work, and it was mildly work-related. So I think we have to commend our teams for that, because they're allowing us to be able to take that time to let us reset and be better versions of ourselves to do what we need to do.
And we want them to do the same.
Yeah, they need to, because you said it earlier, sometimes being able to get to a spot where you can't pick up the phone or don't pick up the phone is very freeing. So, yeah. Cool. Well, that's a good spot to wrap it up. Folks, take your vacation time. Spend more than one day away. Try and disconnect. Try and recover, recuperate, and reboot, recharge. And do it with your loved ones. So, hope you got something from this episode, and we hope you join us again.